Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today, we are going to be doing a little bit of a messy episode because there's kind of a flurry of things that we should probably get to that I haven't gotten to for a bit, right? Because, we have been busy by BFDIA the past few days. We're free from the shackles of that now. However, we still do, in fact, need to, I guess, clean up a little bit. So there's gonna be a lot of new episodes released from other shows that we will eventually be taking a look at. I have them all in my backlog. However, for today, we're mainly going to be taking a look at the episodes from Keeping Up, because even though yesterday we kept up, I made sure to only keep up with the small stuff because I didn't want to fill it up the video too much, because it was the BFDIA episode, and I was already going to fill up the video to an exuberant amount. So today we're going to be doing as much of that as possible, as much of the rest of that as possible. But before all of that, we're going to take a look at one episode, which I didn't exactly know when to look at it, because basically, okay, so LeoFriends, which I have been doing a lot of watching a lot of their content recently, because of course I'm doing the road to MCS. Now, the road to MCS probably won't be happening for another day or two. However, we will be certainly doing this video because they released a week ago Binomial Epilogue, alright? Binomial Epilogue, which is a different object show that's unrelated to MCS or any of the BOI universe, which means that I do gotta watch it. Like, by the rule set, I gotta watch it pretty much right now. So apologies if you don't are tired of me reviewing LeoFriends content all the time, but like we gotta get to what we gotta get to. All right, there's a lot of stuff to watch. If there's a lot of stuff to watch, I'm gonna need to watch a lot of it. So we're going to be doing that, and then we're going to be keeping up with it, okay? So Binomial Epilogue Episode 1 is titled Into the Hoop. All right, let's watch it. Okay, I have just watched Episode 1 of the Binomial Epilogue, and we have ticked off another LeoFriends show off the list, all right? So, this show, what is the premise of this show? So Upside Down A is hosting a competition, all right? And this competition has a theme. You do one challenge. The challenge is a simple basketball, throw at the hoop, do whatever you want, basically. However, you have to get the viewer's attention. Simply, this is the one challenge, and then it's a vote to win. Like, there's no limited, nothing. It's just the voting here in this episode is a vote to win. So basically, this one challenge dictates who you decide wins, right? Based on the viewers. Which is interesting, of course. There's also another side theory, like side test going on in this episode as well, which is that every single character uses a text-to-speech voice, a different TTS voice for their speech. We have seen this happen before in certain shows that I've watched before. I know that stuff like Ausbin Biagos uses text-to-speech voices, or pretty much any show made by Dreamy Fiery. And at first, I was calling it out a little bit. However, I don't know, because especially now, is that that's not true. Text-to-speech has always been a thing, ever since like the announcer and BFDI. It's like there's always like that fine line nowadays between what is a text-to-speech and what is an AI voice, right? Like it kind of depends. Like when the TikTok text voice kind of like it's kind of like one of those. However, we're gonna. These are text-to-speeches pretty definitively. They just also kind of sound like text-to-speech. So, yeah, that is all cool. This show in general feels like a very test show. Like it's just kind of it's very experimental. It's doing a lot of small little things right here and there, trying this out and trying this out and trying a new looking voting screen, right, and trying a different outro and the way the characters interact, and some different character concepts as well, right. Whereas like it's properly just it's testing, and then eventually it might be used for other stuff. I have no idea what binomial epilogue means, by the way. I tried to figure out of like is an epilogue what happens at the end of something or at the beginning of something? I don't remember. Epilogue meaning a section at the end of a book. So this is the epilogue to binomial. Well, what is binomial? what is what is binomial the non-epilogue? Well, I don't know. I can absolutely confirm that I don't know what it is. So I guess that's for a later time to find out. But then we have here our contestant Square Pumpkin, which is a square pumpkin. We have a mystery gift box. That's a gift box. That's like a joke gift box. Apparently, it has one of those punches inside. We have a freaking laundry machine who is extreme, has the angriest text to speech voice I have ever seen. Soap bar, which I must say looks like ice cream, but okay, sure, we'll go with it. Then we've got Never Portal and the Gingerbread Man, as well as the gingerbread house, which is the mom of the gingerbread man. That's kind of cute, right? And then we got a potted plant with the pea shooter, a cherry, who is a chair. Then there's also a hose, which is a very, I mean, I must say that that is a sick looking character. It's like the Flory if they were badass. All right, that's kind of sick. Then we got Four Eyes, which is a dynamic duo. Character, another character, but only one of them has limbs. So like only like no, one of them has legs, while they both have arms. Then we apparently have the Gimpy plant, which is one of the most dangerous plants of all time. Touch it and you are bye bye. And then there's Popcorn Bag, which does not care. So those are the characters. Now, this is interesting, I must say, because like it's really, how do you impress the viewers? You can do an extremely sick trick shot, okay? And a couple of people do some cool trick shots, such as the Never portal, throwing it into the Never, and then eventually like a gassed fireball and then going out into the hoop, or some characters that manage to do a couple of cool throws, like from the laundry machine, right? And then we end up having some interesting things as well. And the soap bar, which ends up doing it with their own mind. However, it's like, is it? Oh yeah, or the holes as well, which ends up spewing it out. But then it's a question of like, can you really gauge a winner based on entirely that? I feel like people want to gauge a winner also based on personality. However, it's kind of difficult. So that's why, all right, you want to hear my winner prediction for this show. My winner prediction for this show is I think Mystery Gift Box is gonna win. Why do I think Mystery Gift Box is going to win? Because Mystery Gift Box was the nicer contestant. A couple of people helped out others. However, Mystery Gift Box is both an interesting character because like, ooh, what's in the gift box? Funny character because oh, haha, you punched them. And they also have the last line of the episode for who of course stuck around for the post credit scene. So they're the freshest character in the mind. And they were also the nice character as they helped out Soap Bar. And even at of course, that post-credit scene, you get to see Soap Bar go like, "Oh, thank you so much for helping me out and doing the challenge." So you see, it's like they get the brownie points for being the nice character, while also like being interesting. So I could absolutely see them as the big old favorites for showing up. Other contenders to win, in my eyes, Four Eyes for just being a duo. Right. The thing about Four Eyes is they're kind of an interesting dynamic duo considering like they always bicker with each other. And again, I love me some characters that are two characters. Four Eyes gives heavy yin yang vibes. So they could possibly do it. Cherry entirely because they're the first in the order, and in stuff like debut voting, right, where you don't have a lot of information on each person, you usually end up picking the first person on the list ends up getting a lot of votes. So Cherry has a lot of potential to win as well. And then maybe possibly Never Portal for being the coolest trick shotter there. All right. So those are the four, or Popcorn Bag as well as a fifth outsider because they don't care, and it's sometimes funny to make the character that doesn't want to win the show. All right. But my main prediction is Mystery Gift Box. But those five I think are the favorites. The other ones I can't really see them making it too far, but like we're getting too far into the game. But I'll say Mystery Gift Box looking like the W we're here. But yeah, second episode will be the finale, and then we will not see these characters again. Like, apparently, this is the episode of Binomial. Is Binomial a show? Binomial. I don't know. I'm getting thrown off by the freaking epilogue. It's like there was something there. No, Binomial is not enough. How is this an epilogue? It's an epilogue of what? I need to know. I actually don't know what binomial even means. I'm just pretending I do. Binomial meaning. Hold on. Binomial meaning. An algebraic expression to the sum. What? Consisting of two names. Okay, so it's like a two episode. Okay, sure. Whatever. I won't harp on about the name too much. But yeah, that is my prediction. I mean, it's a cool little show. The text-to-speech voices are pretty alright. Like in terms of using them to a successful degree, I think a lot of them are actually quite nice. However, I think the main issue is just that I think some of them, especially the girl ones, end up a little bit too similar to text-to-speech voices. To be honest, like they're sometimes a little bit hard to distinguish. So I would probably like honestly switch it. Like for real show, I wouldn't mind a character or two that's like that, just to kind of make them sound different. However, an entire show like this ends up having a couple of characters that are just gonna sound like others, right? However, we do a pretty good job, all right? So yeah, I guess we're gonna be finding out who's gonna win at a later date. That was the binomial epilogue. We the road to MCS is gonna be returning probably in a couple of days. Um, However, we need to take this excursion as well in terms of watching LeoFriends content to look at binomial epilogue. All right, that's cool. Let's go do some keep ups. The next show that we're going to be taking a look at is called Green, or The Greater Green, depends where you look. It is created by Hubbabubba. Hubbabubba we took a look at twice before, as we took a look at some of their joke little object shows, Squared Rootly Object Show, and Trizzler in their respective episodes. Do I currently remember them? Not really. Another Trizzler was at episode 34. Meanwhile, the Squared Rootly Object Show was all the way back in a different time. But, what? But anyways, they have released the sixth episode of what is their not I wouldn't say they're more no, it's not their most flagship show, but it's one of the shows that they've made, that they've been making, called, well, Green. It has six episodes. They're all relatively short, about 1 minute and a half each, so we're gonna watch them, starting off with the first one released 5 months ago, titled You Definitely Want Some Ketchup After This. Let's watch it. Okay, that is episode 1 of Green. So we get introduced to our cast, which is a pretty small cast of 5 people, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 5 people cast, which theoretically means by episode 6 it should be over. So we might get to watch the entire show today. I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. But we have our host here, which is a green atom. Then we have our contestants: green raspberry, green bean, my brother's green thermos. Interesting. And yeah, green raspberry, and who else? There's fucking a lobster or grobster. I don't know, but either way, this grobster ends up winning the challenge by managing to fly up into the sky, looking all cool, cool little animation, and then eventually they grab the mustard, and it turns out to taste pretty bad. And in fact, tastes like that one video of the theoretical sleep paralysis guy. I think that it's like a meme. But eventually the rest are up for elimination. So, of course, this show is very green and its aesthetic is very green. However, it low-key does manage to complement itself pretty decently. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I mean, we will have to see. It seems like the green raspberry is a little bit more awkward. The lobster is a little bit more random. We don't get to find out too much else about the other contestants. The intro is pretty cool. Who's getting eliminated? I'm gonna say my brother's green thermos because, no. Wait. Never mind. No. I'm gonna say green bean. Green bean because it's bean, and that's from the other show, so it's an original. That's the logic I'm gonna go with, okay? Because I don't know what other logic I could place on it, but I'm gonna place this logic. Okay, that was the episode 1 of Green. All right, so let's go to episode 2 of Green, called sybau, or so you'll beat, yeah. So let's go. You can tell the vibe of an object show by the TikTok that plays at the end of it. So that is episode 2 of Green. we have my brother's green thermos eliminated. I'm kind of ashamed that I switched my mind because I was thinking about voting. No, not about voting them. I was thinking that they might get eliminated because they were technically the least green thing. Because oh, it's just one item. It's not nothing special. But like, I switched my mind. But I probably shouldn't have. But I mean, if you check, look, 18, 16, 14, 13, nobody had any idea who to vote. They all used their own random logic, and it just turned out that one of them got a little bit more unlucky than the others. And the challenge is to be a reaction image. And then apparently Granny Smith is very capable of being a reaction image, so you know what? Fair enough. And then the green Atom. What are you called? You're not called Green Atom. Like you were specifically not called Green Atom. Hold on. Green 2. I Green 2? Like from Roblox? What? No, wait, that's not a thing. What? Green 2. Okay. I don't know what you are, but you're a tool that is green. Um and yeah, then eventually the green bean gets upset and beats up of a host, the host that is, not doing great. And then everybody else is up for elimination. I like how the elimination screen didn't change. It's actually remained the same. Like it's not I think no, I think the ends thing has changed because of course the date is different. But I think it's kind of funky how the main part of it didn't. I mean, my prediction is that Green Bean gets out here because they did punch the host and all that for what was a pretty fair assessment from the host. The host didn't even do anything that insane. So I mean, I think that they're out, but I guess we'll have to find out in episode 3, Debreen. All right, so we have episode 3. Okay, so because of this being a debut, the next one we'll probably have the result of the debut and maybe a challenge. I don't know. That means that yeah, no, episode 6 wouldn't be the last one because I was thinking, I was like, how's that? How would that happen? Or maybe episode 6 still could be the last one, right? I mean, if you have the challenge in the next episode, but either way, we have here a debut. Usually I like to analyze a debut, but this is impossible. Like we have an entire 1 minute of How many characters are in this debut? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 30, 33. Roughly. I don't know. I probably miscounted. Bro, how am I meant to pick? There's too many. And I don't know how they're all green. How did you do that? How many green things are there in the world? I didn't even know there were that many. I mean, what the hell? There's so many green things. Um, I mean, respect, I guess, but wow, that is a lot of stuff. My favorite concepts are probably the ball and axe because it's that one game. Poison arrow is pretty creative. I like the yes symbol. The platforms ABC, CBBC, and Hulu. Those are also pretty cool. Um, I don't even know, bro. Who else was that first half? I like the potted plant idea for being a green character that's not like incredibly green. Same thing goes with the star. The star patch just is probably the best looking design. The fast forward. I don't know why the fast forward is weird. I don't. M and empty. I don't even know what that is. Are you like emo? What are you? What is this? You have one limb. You have one leg and one arm. What the hell happened to you? Okay, now I want you to join just to find out what the fuck you are. What? What happened? You have like a headphone with one ear, and the other one isn't. Are you okay? Are you good? Wait, vote this guy. Vote them in. Sorry, the freaking pronoun. What? Vote them in. What the hell? What happened to them? Oh my god, that's actually crazy. But I mean, yeah, they're not gonna join. My presumption on the voting is always the first and maybe last. So I'm predicting Grape probably rejoins, and maybe Coconut Smoothie. So Grape and Coconut Smoothie. However, Coconut Smoothie did say it, so then they'll think, oh, that's not about the last character. So I think Grape probably joins because of the classic debut rule. First person joins. All right. I don't really have much else I can really predict here, but yeah. Some of them are funny. I hope the MNMT joins because what the hell's going on with them? I'm curious. But all right. Yo-Yo loves everything you love to see it. That's episode 4. Let's go. All right, that is episode 4. we have ourselves the debut results. You know, I'm a big respecter of the audience that watches the hit show Green, because they are not like their average show audience. They do not just vote for the first person that shows up on the screen. So Grape doesn't rejoin. No, it doesn't rejoin. Doesn't debut. Good stuff. In fact, they got 0 votes, which that's actually kind of crazy. Um, you know what? I'm happy that at least M and MT, some other people saw the vision. They got 4 votes. That's pretty nice, you know. And then it turns out that our final two are Lowing or Bowling Ball, and then Message. However, the Bowling Ball ends up winning with 10 votes. I can truly assure you, I have no opinions on this debutante. I mean, it's a pretty solid design. It's like a green bowling ball. I mean, it's like a glowing ball. I guess that's how you I mean, I guess that's like a cool wordplay, but it's not glowing, so that would have been so I don't know. Their eyes are also very open. Which is also interesting, because of course that means that they're stylized differently than the average character. They're obviously going to be safe because they are the debutante, so we don't even do a challenge. The gag is that we don't do the challenge. And then the other characters are up for elimination: Green Raspberry, Granny Smith, and Grobster. We haven't seen these fellas in a while, so I'm probably predicting that Grobster gets eliminated despite their heroics in episode 1, probably because they haven't really done anything in the other episodes, and they're also the least green in terms of hue, and they don't have their own unique assets. So my expectation that Grobster gets eliminated here, but yeah. I have definitely been noticing that it seems to be like a half trend with these smaller object shows, that they do the joke of the title being of a debutante that doesn't debut. Uh, that gets like 0 votes. So that's interesting. I gotta keep it in mind. Every time I see one of those, I'm like, okay, they're not joining specifically now. Because originally I thought they were joining, but now they've been baited once or twice. It's like, okay, they're definitely not joining if they're in the title. All right, good stuff. Episode 5 is titled Glass Cups Do What Ninten'doesnt. Let's go. Okay, so I just watched Green 5. Okay, I'm kind of confused. What is happening? So, okay, I think what's happened or something is that there was like a mistake or intentional error in Green 4, where the character of a Green Homer, which did exist in the vote in like the debut screen, it just wasn't present in the last video. Like they didn't make a joke that they died, or they just weren't there. Like, I don't know what it is. They just weren't there. But they might have gotten the most votes or whatever. So that means that like right now you got to replace the Soling Ball character, which I don't know what a Soling Ball is, but I think that's their name. But anyways, we end up having them go into the underworld, into the freaking inverted color land, where I must say, I don't know what it is about it. The designs do look kind of swagger. I'm not gonna lie. Like that bottle looked kind of fire though, or Thermo, sorry. That Thermos look kind of fire. But yeah, eventually Green Homer ends up rejoining in place of them. Grobster does successfully get eliminated, as I predicted. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then eventually our challenge is to break a glass bottle. For some reason, this glass kills anybody who touches it, but Granny Smith yeets themselves into the apple, so while they die, the glass also does break. So, yeah, look, you gotta do what you gotta do. This voting screen is getting progressively more dumb, but we have Green Homer and Green Raspberry. I feel like Green Raspberry probably gets no yeah, I think they probably get eliminated, because I think most of the viewers were the ones who were complaining about Green Homer not rejoining. So I'm gonna go with the idea that the viewers want Green Homer to be here and therefore won't eliminate them, even if some people are like, oh, it's unfair that the freaking Soling Ball got out. I don't know, but I'm gonna say that the Green Raspberry on this one, although it could be definitely wrong, but I I don't really know. And then we have episode 6, which is, well, the latest one is the one released a couple of days ago. This episode is titled "I Forgot to Add the Funny Video Near the End." Sorry, that we've forgotten to do that like half the episodes. Whatever. Let's watch it. And alright, that was episode 6 of Green. So we end up having your elimination. I was correct in this case. It was close. It was indeed a quite a 50-50 of whether people understood why Green Homer suddenly came in or not. But I had done I think a little bit of a bold statement of saying that most people would have and Green Raspberry gets out instead, which that is indeed true. So now we have here eliminated contestants over in the inverted color land, which is always kind of interesting. They want to play baseball, basketball. Dude, I was so ready for them to make the joke about playing bowling, and then Soling Ball comes in and it's like, yeah, we use Soling Ball. So like they actually do have a ball. Like that's what I thought that they were gonna be doing, but no, they're not gonna be doing that. Um, then everybody's gonna be coming back because it's the final two, and we are indeed mad because they trapped us in a liminal space. I will be admitting though the liminal space debatably looks better. It looks better than the regular space. I mean, would you rather be in a box with like, at least like a sky, looks like the night sky? Would you rather be in green, green, green? Everything is green all the time. Like, it's more of a like the main place is more of a liminal space than the other place. But yeah, Granny Smith and Green Homer end up being the final two. Who's gonna win? In my opinion, I mean, my prediction and opinion would be Granny Smith because debutantes usually don't win, and Green Homer already kind of barely made it. However, I could see Green Homer winning because they are the only they have a line. Granny Smith in this episode I think has 0 lines, so it ends up being kind of a little bit of a debate. I'm gonna say Granny Smith wins. However, Green Homer wins. I'm absolutely not surprised. What I consider it unfair, Green Homer wins. Well, I don't know if Green Homer got the most votes in the debut voting. I don't know. If they did, then yeah, sure, we can bring them in. As a mistake solving, but the fact that they didn't, like, it almost, I don't know, it's like if they didn't, then I think it's kind of BS. But we don't know how many votes they got, so it's interesting. But the fact that everybody was calling out Green Homer, I think means that they probably were the one that got the most votes. So yeah, I don't know. It could be them, but I'm gonna predict Granny Smith because it's also just it's green thing. It's not like forcing something to be green directly by just adding green at before the name of the thing. Like it's actually just a thing that is green, and you see it doesn't need the green suffix because yeah, Granny Smith is green. you know, you don't have to say green lollipop or green tool or green Homer or like you could just say the name of the thing, which I think makes it a more unique thing. All right. So yeah, I'm kind of sad that I don't think the intro ever got updated to introduce our debuter in it. Which that's you gotta do it. You gotta do it. New character in the show. Gotta update the intro, bro. Gotta update the intro, bro. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about Green. It's kind of it's a fun little show. It's small. The challenges. I mean, there haven't really been challenges for the entire second half of it, to be honest. But yeah, it's been all right. It's been a watch, especially for a small little thing. I think that there's usually not too much to discuss about this in specific. But like, if you want to watch a little show, you can absolutely watch this one. There's nothing against it at all because it's just a nice little 6 minutes. All right, that's all that I can really say about Green. Let's go to the next thing. The next show that we're going to be taking a look at is Object Point. Why? Because Object Point had its first episode of its 4th season since the reboot in 2025, titled FourPoint. However, for that we need to watch seasons 2 and 3. However, they are both very tiny, all right? Because I believe that this is trying to emulate olden BFDIA, like the Path with Jackie Jellyfish. So that means 5 episodes of the second season, 1 episode of the third season, and then a 4th season that's a little bit goofier, and more for real. So I think that is what we're doing here. But yeah, I know there's the whole past seasons of Object Point that we could take a look at from the late 2010s. However, I decided to currently not do those because it's not needed. It's not the canonical one just quite. So we're going to be ignoring those for the time being, and we will be maybe looking at those a later time. But for now, we're going to be taking a look at season 2 to start, Object Point again, which started with episode 1 titled Oh That's Not. Just as I remember, last time we had the whole big old movie end game thing, um, where we eventually managed to save the world from freaking like crystal diamond, not I don't even remember what you were, purple guy, and then eventually the world ended with the host leaving. All right, but let's see where we resume. Without your point again, one. Oh, that's not. Alright, so we have just watched Object Point again. One, oh, that's not. Yeah, as you can tell, there's a heavy amount of BFDIA going on here, and that's, I think, the thematic that we're going to be following for quite a bit of this video here of this Object Point season 2 to 4 because they seem to be very much so. Yo, what if we did BFDI, but it was like mildly different when it had to, but otherwise not really. They eventually have our new set of contestants, a couple of debutantes. There's like a button fella. There's Nedo, which I don't know what that is. There's the Sri Lanka Sutal, the spoon, the applesauce, strawberry, 10 balls back, knife, which is literally just the asset from my eye. Like, yeah, we got those for Earth. The teams are actually even, so you can tell that when 10 ball says the line, no, we don't do that. The challenge ends up, I'm so surprised that it didn't land on Tug of War, bro. I'm shook. All right, but the first challenge ends up being a jigsaw puzzle, which ends up being indeed not that interesting of a challenge. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of, if not the shortest episode of original BFDI is an episode where they do a jigsaw puzzle challenge because it is just not that interesting, you know? Like, let me check. What is the shortest episode of BFDI? Because I swear I think it's that one, you know? Or it could be like a debut episode, but I don't. No, I know. It's like okay, it's like 631. It's the second shortest. The shortest one is Lofty, which is 556. But you see what I mean? It's one of the shortest episodes of BFDI because there's just not that much to do with the concept. So yeah, I don't absolutely recommend it. We have a total of 2 gags. One gag revolving steak, and the other gag revolving cheese it. And Nedo. What is Ned? What is Nedo? I don't know what Nedo is. I think I'm saying. Am I saying it wrong? Is it Nido? But like Nito just sounds like Nito, like the character. Isn't Nedo? I don't really know. But eventually, they make peace in a way for sure. But then gladly the stickman spoon fella ends up being managing to solve the puzzle somehow, and then the other team is up for elimination. Who gets eliminated, bro? I do think I know. Maybe like Streetlight because he didn't do anything, or Strawberry for interrupting the great beyond. I don't, I don't really know. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I don't know if the freaking like Object Point fans are too fond of this season because like I mean I don't know what the old one is. Maybe I should have watched it, but again, I might watch it some other time. I do plan on eventually doing an episode where like I do the stuff that I missed. Like watch Object Fool, for example, which I never did, right, and all that stuff. However, in this case, I don't know if the new audiences, if the old audiences are actually a fan of this, because I mean, like, what? It's just BFTA again. Like, I don't know. Was the other one more original? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out with episode 2 of Object Point again, Transitions. Okay, so that was episode 2 of Object Point again. I forgot just how loud this show tends to be. I'm not like acclimatized because last time I had a lot of time to acclimatize myself to the Object Point way of doing things with like the 15 episodes. But yeah, I'm not quite as used to it again. So yeah, shockingly, I actually predict the elimination correctly, which I'm shook by. Apparently, it's by like freaking what 2 votes, 112 to 110, which is crazy. By the way, super close voting, intense voting, absolutely. So that's kind of cool. Then we have the vote to prize. By the way, interesting thing. that little data, the data that we said doesn't matter, I actually think is very interesting data, because votes to save 143, votes to eliminate 451. Isn't that kind of interesting though? Because like, if you think about it, when you look at a show like BFDIA, the way that it does the viewer system, you'll notice they get way more likes than dislikes, because of the way that people, that of course people on average like videos more than they dislike videos, especially now that this have been turned off. However, it's interesting how when you downscale the size of a show, right, you get nicher in the OSC. You start losing out on the people who mainly vote, who mainly like the videos rather than dislike the videos, which means that they end up voting to save instead. Or do we even, actually we don't even use videos, but it looks like we use videos, okay, which means that we end up having the prize belonging to Earth, the Earth fella, which ends up losing their limbs. I really wish they didn't just make Earth wobble around on the floor, you know, because, like, it's Earth. Make them fly. Wouldn't that be sick as fuck? You know, make them like a black hole style character. Make them be able to fly now. Make them have no limbs but fly. You know, that's kind of cool. Right? Like, I thought that was what they were doing. It's like, oh, haha, it's a way to do the design. Nope, but Earth just wobbling on the floor. But, okay. That's interesting. And then our challenges. Okay, let's break this down. So, Applesauce has been sad the past two episodes because of the thing with Lego, who won but died or whatever, in the end of the other thing when they had the 1 second relationship, but now it means the world, right? So then they get kicked out onto the TV. The TV starts shooting laser beams at everybody. The laser beams, if I'm not mistaken, they're the ones that take. Yeah, this was a thing in one of the Object Point episodes, right? It like anything that's alive becomes inanimate, and anything inanimate becomes animate, which means that the apples that they were eating become animate now, and they start chasing after the other people to try to kill them. You know what? Yeah, actually, I'm shook. I remembered that. But eventually we altered the timeline a little bit, which made the grass a bit different, and we also have some new designs for Nito. Earth now looks very gray. And then it turns out that the same team as the other time ends up being up for elimination because they did in fact have the least amount of alive people. We also have this little post-credit scene with Hart showing up. So I think Hart, you know, is one of the shape fellas from the big old debate. So that's kind of cool. We will be seeing what we will be doing. Oh wait, vote in the poll to eliminate comments to save. Wow, okay, that's a weird system. Okay, we don't get new voting symbols for all our characters, which is unfortunate because, you know, a couple of them changed designs. I guess that might mean that the design changes isn't a permanent thing. Like, we might not permanently have a like more grayed out Netta, but we'll have to see. Have I talked what I needed to talk? I don't know if I've talked what I needed to talk. Have I said anything? I feel like I've said what I've needed to say about this episode, to be honest. It's still kind of BFDIA core, but we are straying a little bit further away from it. I'm curious if we'll go back in towards it or outwards from it in episode 3, which is titled Too Much Damage. Let's watch it. Let's go. Okay, so I just watched episode 3 of OPA, or Object Points, again, and as I have to say in every episode, watching an episode of Object Point is the equivalent of having a wrestling match against your own brain. There are so many things happening at once where you're just trying to wrap them around your head in a way that makes sense, because the show goes fast, it goes loud, and it goes confusing, and it throws references at you that, depending on how it's feeling that moment, may matter or may not matter, right? That's kind of the thing about it. And this episode, I think, is one of the greatest examples of that, right? Because basically we're doing a Teapot 15 here. um you know, the shift, this was released on July 5th for Nolla. I mean, wait, no, I do wait, when did the freaking dimensional shift release? I think that released probably in that released on January 1st, right? Because that was the anniversary, like the 15 year, right? So yeah, that's like ends up being a little bit, I mean, it's not like necessarily an in-time meme, but yeah, we got a bunch of stuff. We see the tug, or I think like the time, whatever. If I'm not mistaken, this is the time machine from Untitled Insanity, no? Because in Untitled Insanity 1, they end up clipping. Now, I can check this real quickly. Yeah, what was Tug mean? The technological universal gate. It shifts realities and explores the multiverse. So at least we have a little bit of, the intro show situation. We have an intro playing. Okay, I know one of the things that I do enjoy about shows like this is that we get to see, like, I do enjoy shows that like have their intros swap. I do like the fact that they show does do that. However, does it need to play 3 times per episode? And like it plays twice on the other episode, plays 3 times here. I thought that might be a little bit excessive, but then we end up just having a T-ball 15. A couple of teams do a pretty good job doing it. However, Earth ends up trolling, and then we end up having an absolute mess of stuff, just like the world is about to crumble. There's a rift in the sky or whatever. Random text appears on the screen that says like fire, freedom, fire. What is give me freedom? I don't know what this is. It looks like it's like in a music video. But then everything's perfectly back to normal somehow, some way. We don't have one from T-Paw here to like explain to us what is going on. Like I don't know, did Gady signed the deal? Who signed the deal? Who signed the deal? But yeah. Anyways, for I think the first time in one of the first times in history, we actually got to see a show where we got the prize and the eliminated contestant being the same. I don't think that that's actually happened in any show that I've watched so far. Just like I don't think that's ever happened yet to have the character that both gets the prize and is eliminated be the same. This is the first case of that being true, which makes it also very special. Object Point, despite being a meme, it is kind of a special series because it's a meme that stuck. It's a meme that gets views, that gets audience, that does stuff. So I think it's nice that it can also be an anomaly and record breaker in a sense. Goodbye, Earth. I don't know when you earned your limbs back, but you did, I guess. Then our challenge is a flying contest. Fly to the sun, and you'll be chilling. We get to see all of the planets. We get to see that there's a big orange planet. There's Mercury. There's the sun, and then there's a purple planet that is dead. I think. Freaking the what like Crystal Lee ended up throwing like demolishing a planet. Did they do that, or am I thinking of one from Tipo? I don't know. Like again, this is what happens when you make your show so intertwined with Tipo. But yeah, then we end up having some stuff. We have Spoonie end up saying the freaking line from Penn. I think it no. From the one from BFB30, that monologue, and however, eventually, Square ends up getting found, laying down on the ground. So then a Diamond Cheese ends up harnessing their power. Now they're super strong and they're going mental with it, but they do at least win the challenge. Who's gonna get eliminated? I don't know. Probably Dimey. For being a character that doesn't even really actually exist, but like I don't even know, bro. Like we're just gonna go along with it. This episode, I think I've managed to generally like knock it down, manage to like break it down, but it's always difficult to break these things down. Episode 4 of Object Point again is entitled Are You Smarter Than a 10 Ball? That is one of the titles of a BFDI episode, which interesting. I think that's the first time they did that because in the other episodes they had relatively unique titles. So, all right. Are you smarter than a 10 ball? I sure ain't. Let's watch it. Okay, I just watched episode 4 of Object Point again. Now, this episode is interesting because unlike the other ones I wasn't immediately able to catch a bunch of the references on this one, which kind of like switches up the status a little bit. Well, of course we are doing BFDIA because we got ourselves some speaker boxes. One of the top tier things in BFDIA. We end up having the applesauce speaker box, read out our votes, and the prize ends up being won by applesauce. So good job, applesauce. You gain one of the freaking entertainment console from the BFDI with the freaking You know what are they called? Like those? There's not called a launch pad. It's like called like a B pad or something. Beat pad? Is that what it's called? Yeah. No. It is called a launch pad. Yeah, you know those launch pads like you press the button. Boom, no, it's called both a beat pad and a launch pad. What? I'm correct both times. Oh, okay. That's cool. But yeah, they end up winning that prize, and then for the elimination, we end up having Daimi eliminated by a freaking mountain ton, 709 compared to 319 for Knifey. Yeah, that's very clear. So goodbye to them. Then we end up having the memory challenge, which is those little. Which, by the way, that's not a bro. The intelligence is not a memory challenge. I mean, it's technically like, oh yeah, you have to fetch the knowledge from your memory, but like that's every challenge. You have to fetch how to play tennis from your memory. Call that a memory challenge. Like no. That's not. This isn't a memory challenge. This is a general intelligence quiz. Come on, bro. But okay, then we end up having what even are the questions on the quiz? The memory quiz. Question 1: What is the first letter of the alphabet? B, 3, 7, or 2? And question 2: Who was the first person to Guntu Muni Lade? Who is Muni Lade? Oh God! Now I want to know. What is this? Are you a person? Oh. Oh, okay. I see. Well, let's pretend that person doesn't exist. Let's keep it moving. Um, we are gonna be doing. We have a little bit of a debate here. Applesauce and Knifey. I'll try to have a debate. And yeah, you know what? Knifey has a decent amount of common sense. To be honest, like yeah, bro. Why would I team up with you, who's like mentally unstable? We're like, yeah, that's true. But like technically, applesauce has a point that yes, okay, they are, I guess, ones with a mild amount of logic. I mean, applesauce doesn't really have that much logic, but like with that, they can go to the finale or whatever and stop the fella. Like, I understand that the idea that applesauce is saying, but I just think that it's wrong. Like that alliance of them two is really not gonna make them that much stronger. So yeah, then we have Strawberry, which ends up asking what is 6 + 5, and then somebody on Discord responds Noza DX. Well, shout out to Noza DX, whoever that is. You have officially managed to do that, so that's cool. Then I think because they answered that question correctly, thanks to Noza DX's answer, the other team ends up being up for elimination. I think that is the entirety of the debate, which okay. So yeah, who's getting eliminated here? I mean, I don't know, 10 ball for being like the dumb and getting called out by Gumball or whatever. I don't know. That's the only guess I can really give you. Then we have a little seed where the ultra powerful friggin' Square ends up meeting with the guy who was a friend of Square from back in the day, who's super powerful. You know what's annoying? I really was trying to remember what this is. I was really trying to remember what scene this is because it gave me a massive sense of deja vu, but I don't remember. I'm sure there's a reference that this scene is doing. I'm sure this scene is trying to be another scene, but I don't remember. For a moment I thought it was like a Leafy scene because like Leafy being like because like the way that we said that like that was a bit rude, that's like a Leafy thing to say, but I cannot tell you, but I can't like imagine it. Like there's not a Leafy like Leafy doesn't have a scene like that, which is interesting. Is that a oh no, wait, it's I no, it's not I no, it's not talk, no, is it? Hold on, I was trying to think that it might be I right, because it's like Taco talking to microphone, but that's not what that is. And I don't think it's one from Teapot either, because who tried to beat up one and failed, right? Like that's different. I really cannot tell you what the hell. Like, you see, I'm getting mega shook. But this is something. This is inspired by something. I just don't know what it's inspired by. But all right, then they're gonna be having that little bit of a debate, and that they get taken away by the phone crew, the Android guys or whatever, and then the button speaker box as well as an ally. So Yeah, we've got lore going on, which is interesting because, like, I thought that this series would was gonna be ending on episode 5 on purpose to do the whole BFDIA joke, right? Oh, haha, it's a show with 5 seasons, but like this show seems like it actually wants to build an arc and lore and shit, but like it's getting canceled on episode 5. Like, really? That what that's what we're doing out here? Because that's like I'm just surprised by that because it doesn't seem like what this show would do, but I guess maybe it is. All right, well, let's watch episode 5, the last proper episode of Object Point again. It is titled Swear Warning. All right, let's watch it. Boom. Okay, I just watched Object Point again 5, or the last episode of Object Point again, like properly. Um, so this thing is this is a video. Um, is like, bro. Let's start off here with the regular challenge. All right, so we end up having the winning of the prize by the knifey, which ends up turning gold. The joke is that for some reason everybody wants knife, and knife doesn't care because to be fair, I do find the joke rather funny because if these characters were interested in literally any other character, then they would be the most clear yes of all time. However, specifically knifey, the only one who actually say no to stuff, who's like the one everybody wants. So that's like the fun. That's like kind of funny, right? Um, but yeah, then eliminated character ends up being Cheese It, which with 1 billion votes. So that's like fair. To be honest, I get calculate that as a possibility that, oh, Cheez It could get eliminated because the diamond Cheez It is like mad and whatever and is running off of power. I thought that could have been an association made. However, I decided to say that no. However, it was indeed the association that was made. Personally, I would have kept them around because it's just better, to have a character like that around. They could contribute more to a story when they're around rather than when they're not around. But hey, the viewers did what they did. Then we have ourselves a classic balance beam challenge. 10 ball. I don't. What the hell? I have no idea what 10 ball's doing. But he's like doing some like low down win stuff. But then that team ends up freaking sabotaging itself, which is great. 10 ball and applesauce absolutely eat each other off. We end up having an ultra cinema scene right before applesauce just falls anyways. But hey, Alliance Power and Knifey manages to be safe. Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, there's really not too much else I can say about this. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I was originally thinking that it was gonna be um that they were gonna do like the BFDI thing, like because I think Blocky it was whoever is like they knock off the platform, then they swing around back and they hit them. But no, we do not do that reference. 10 ball just falls. No, genuinely, like they even did like freaking slow mo shot of them falling into the water. That's that every time, bro. That is like there's a random bird or whatever that comes in to save the day. Not this time. 10 ball don't deserve it. Fair enough. Um, but yeah, that team's up for elimination. Butternetto and Strawberry. For some reason, each one of them written with a different casing style. But okay. Who gets eliminated? I don't fucking know. None of them spoke. I'm gonna predict Button because Button has the speaker boxes from the next scene. Even though it's not the Button didn't make those speaker boxes. That's not like on him. I do think that's what we're doing here. So yeah, and then we have an interrogation room for the diamond cheese it with the square powers, and then we end up having some chit chat and whatever. Yet again, I don't know what it is. I think this feels like it's some. The problem is I don't trust this show to do lore. Like, I don't trust this show to do lore in a unique way, because the way that this show has always been is that it's simply taking a story from a movie or from a fake. Actually, now that I think about it, is that the Mufasa scene, the one of 10 ball falling? Uh is that what that? I don't know. But anyways, like in general, we end up doing a like the thing where we're taking the lore from other things, from other sources, and compiling it onto this. So whenever this is, I don't think, oh, this is an original thing that was thought about. I'm like, yo, what is this from? Basically, I'm trying to figure that out, because the way that the reputation of the show has built itself off to be means that I really don't think that this is original, right? But then what is it from? I cannot tell you. It gives me vibes of something similar, but like it doesn't. But it's because I'm probably thinking the teapot. But the thing is that I'm thinking of the teapot in reverse. But that's is not teapot. This is something else, bro. What is this, man? Shit. I cannot tell you, man, and that's unfortunate. But I'm sure it's from something. And Diamond Cheetah ends up telling the stories that, yo, they deserve it, nobody cares about me, and then it's like, yo, I get you. Tell me, and we'll have no repercussions. And then the guy gets mad and decides to shoot the Diamond D a million times. We end up having a scream, which very object point style makes the entire situation about 7 times less serious than it seems. But then they escape and get out, and I guess we will have to see what happens to them at a later time. So. Yeah, but that is what's currently going on. I don't know why the button speaker boxes are so unbelievably compliant, but I guess there's the question of who built them. It's probably that guy, to be honest. Big old Tim themselves. So yeah, we end up doing all that. But all right. So one thing that I'm gonna be absolutely stating is that I'm gonna watch OPA6, the video on YouTube. However, I'm not gonna cover it. Okay. I'm just gonna watch it in case there's information that we needed. However, I'm not gonna do a segment here talking about it because like it's a 56-second still frame or whatever. I'm gonna just have that on, like do my watch, and then we're gonna skip it. And then we're gonna be coming back once I watch Point Objects 1. Welcome back, all right, and that way we can discuss it, all right. But I'll be back then. Okay, sounds good. All right, nice. Okay, so I just watched the Point Objects 1. Welcome back right after watching the unlisted, or wait, is it unlisted? A video called ODA, OPA, or what ODA is a different show, called OPA 6. So, if it curious, apparently what the explanation was in OPA in the OPA6 video is that apparently what happened is that everybody fled or something because the diamond cheese tried to attack everything and we turned into a barren wasteland and stuff wasn't good or whatever, something along those lines happened. And it's like, okay, then I guess we do that. So that is how we have been doing it, but that's apparently the explanation to what the hell happened. But now we end up into Point Objects 1. So Point Objects 1, this is IDFB. Like physically, it is IDFB in the way where it is the episode of IDFB, but reanimate, not even reanimated. No, we're just taking the files from IDFB, but we've sort of done a character swap because at some point in time, these files have just become available. To be honest, like at some point, but yeah, I think it's mildly sped up, right? Because IDFB1 is 1046. Yeah, it ends up speeding itself up quite a bit at the end, but in general, the entire episode has a sort of 1.25 style vibe to it, you know? To where everything feels a little bit fast. It's partially the way that object point characters speak, right? They kind of speak in this faster tone. However, in this episode, they are also just indeed doing a little bit of a speed up. So, this is definitely I think one of the most interesting things that I've covered on this channel because it's such like a weird idea. You know, it's such like a weird idea. Like you've made a show, okay? Man, you made a show and you're like, how do I continue my show? Answer, I continue my show by badly redubbing a different show, and that's the joke of the episode. But however, the fact of the matter means that it kind of is nearly impossible to really continue it effectively because we're just doing a different show and it's just a character swap, right? So it's like it's different. I mean, you can change the VA and the lines that they say, but it doesn't make too much sense anyways, right? Let's talk about Danny's World roleplay. Like, it's super weird. So it's I don't even know what to say here. Oh god. Um but yeah, as usual, it keeps the object point style of being quite loud in nature and quite a bunch of stuff. The intro ends up actually being replaced by a BFB copy intro, which is quite interesting because one of the interesting things that this show has had for itself is that, especially when you consider, right, that it is entirely a copy, right? Like it is entirely a copy in the style of the video. It's like it's trying to kind of be BFDIA, it's trying to be BFDIA, it's trying to be IDFB to at least like evoke you of it, right? It's like a parody. Well, sorry, like it's a copy, it's a parody of it, more or less, right? One of the interesting things that they've never actually done is copy an intro. They've not done that. The intros of stuff like Object Point Again has never actually taken the BFDA style intro, which is interesting because there's no reason not to. Like, yeah, same thing goes. The files for those intros are available. I've seen tons of people swap them out, right? So the decision to keep the object point intro and the object point again intro completely intact as a like a different thing is also interesting. And here we also have a pretty similar deal. Like, it's a BFB intro, but it's a very heavily modified intro. So it does end up being a little bit different, but like I'm surprised they didn't take the idea B intro. The idea B intro is generally just kind of pretty good. I like the idea B intro quite a lot, but oh well. Then we end up having a couple of character swaps. So who exactly are the character swaps? Pin is Streetlight. Ten Ball is I don't even know. Hold on. Earth is Fries. Ten Ball is one of the freaking Eraser. No, yeah, maybe. Um, then Ruby is Strawberry. Button is who the hey? Book? I think Button is Book. The freaking Nick and Dimey is the other was Match. I think no. Oh God, I don't remember who's who in Idea B, bro. I haven't watched Idea B in a while. I don't know. I didn't expect to have to watch Idea B. That wasn't one of the things that I was expecting, to be honest. So, Pencil ends up being the swap out. No, wait. No. I have everything wrong. Wait, no. Button is Bubble, and then Nito is Pencil. Okay, yeah. This all makes sense. Okay. Book is Daimi, and then Ice Cube just remains as Ice Cube. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then it's Bommy who is Ten Ball. Okay, all right. Okay, I see. I am understanding. I'm understanding a little bit of it, of what's happening. Then Golf Ball is Applesauce. And Nito is yet again Tennis Ball, which makes sense. That was the joke. Nito ends up being Sotapasine, which has got to be one of the best characters in the history of gaming. Then is who the hell is this Coiny? Is Coiny the blue gelatin? Is that who that is? Wait. Yeah, Coiny is the blue gelatin. Okay, yeah. And then the freaking Diamondy being in the cage. That makes sense. The freaking cheese it Diamondy. Pencil end up being cheese it this time. Then they end up reviving a bunch of people. Okay, so there's not a consistent thematic on who's who at any given time. There's not a direct character swap, but it just kind of changes depending on the vibe of the scene. Okay, sure. I mean, look, I'm gonna be 100% honest. personally, I don't see the point in this, especially as this is a series with a lot of history, with fans and stuff. You know, just taking the idea of like a relatively cheap redubbing of an episode as, oh, new season, ends up being like, okay, it's a troll, but troll better. You know, there's more inventive ways to troll than to do this. So I'm personally not really big into this concept, but I understand if you like if you were big into this concept, but I'm personally not really into this concept. Um but all right. I will be yet again. I'm going to be watching Point Objects Paper Towel. We won't be discussing it because it's a short. It's part of the playlist, so in case it has something relevant, I'll point it out. However, I'm not gonna actually talk about it there. We're instead going to skip straight to FourPoint, which is the episode that released a couple days ago of the fourth season, first episode. It's called "Don't Question a Good Thing." It has a BFB style of thumbnail. And it is dangerously similar to what I think the length of BFB1 is. So I guess we're gonna need to watch it, and I guess we're gonna need to see what it is. Alright, I'll be back after I watch Paper Towel and 4.1. Let's go. Alright, so I just watched the first episode of FourPoint, Don't Question a Good Thing. And this is interesting. I must admit, this is very, very interesting because we have, for maybe the first time in Object Point history, well, not the first time in history because there's the old. In the first time in the 2025 reboot relaunch history, we have had a tonal shift. Like this episode feels different than the others in the way that like Object Point and Object Point again at the end of the day felt very similar to each other. You know, if you actually go compare one to the other, is that what like yes, stuff is different, but it's like in the who cares type of way. Where it's like, oh okay, well like whatever, right? But in this case, we actually have just a show that feels a bit different because we have ditched the good old loud bad mic, you know, the funny mic as some people call it, right? Where it's the microphone of bad quality that peaks like super easily. So that's why any type of shouting makes it this super loud sound, and loud equals funny apparently. So we have this thing, but then we also have a bunch of new cast and not too many of the old cast, to be honest. Like, the amount of old cast is here is actually surprisingly not that many characters. But presumably we get ourselves introduced to the cast here. So, who do we have? Who is here? We have got a Black Pen, or whatever. I don't know, Black Sharpie. There, the pen character, which needs to be there because, of course, you legally have to make the joke of the start of BFB, of the BFB1. It's legally required. Then Button, who's making the return, they are pretty cool. To be fair, well, as far as designs are concerned, assets from Object Point itself, I always thought that Button was definitely one of the better ones. So, like, in terms of which one would fit in a show with a little bit of a more for real, quote unquote, aesthetic, I think that Button definitely strikes out as a good one, as a good pick for sure. So yeah, we only have Vortex, which is a character that exists. They act like pretty much exactly like Black Hole, but a bit dumber because you know the general IQ of the show's lower. So they are hanging out and chilling there. There's also a very low quality bottle who is there. They're apparently like are completely. They don't have a singular movement in the show. Like, as far as I'm aware, I don't think like their asset doesn't move at all. It is one PNG so far. Apparently their mouth was glued shut, according to the funny prick. But like, I don't, I don't really know. So that's interesting. And then roughly there is when it nearly immediately diverts itself from BFB1. Like generally, the amount that this actually takes its place in BFB1 is pretty interesting. And also earlier I said that this episode looked like the length of BFB1. No, it's not. BFB1's half an hour long. I completely forgot that. I misremembered that. Totally misremembered that. I'm not gonna lie. That's way longer. But yeah, this actually doesn't actually take that many direct cues from BFB, which is pretty interesting to see. Then we had Red Block, which I don't know if you're a block. You're more of a cardboard box that's got dirt on it. But all right, they're the plank because they're like blocky but weird. And then we have I do not know who the hell this is. Now that I think about it. They look like a friggin' smoothie lemon. No, no, no. I don't know what you are. You're like an ice cream, but a hammy? No, I don't, bro. I'm not gonna show what the fucking characters say. The characters don't say anything that makes sense. Then they end up embracing for some reason. Hey, that's the object point way. That is the object point way to do things. You gotta kiss. So you know what? Sure, if you gotta do that, you can do that. Then Strawberry and Cheez It end up having their own comeback. I don't think we get to see Diamond Cheez It. I find it so funny. They're just looking at it like, yep, this is happening. But all right, then they end up dipping. We end up seeing a Knifey. Oh yeah, Knifey is back. However, for some reason, they are significantly more pink. I don't know. They just have they just have a tint to them that they didn't have before. I guess I understand you got to switch up the asset because the asset that Knifey originally has is entirely just the one from II, right? It was like literally just ripped out straight. If you want to make a new asset for a Knifey, it ends up being a little bit complicated, but I don't know if we need to add this hue to it. Chiza ends up asking where blue gelatin is, and the traffic cone go like, yo, they probably no wait. Oh no, Cheez It arrives and then blue traffic cone asks where blue gelatin is, and then blue traffic cone. Then traffic cone asks where who blue gelatin is, and then blue gelatin is literally right there, and goes like, yo, gotta be in like Miami, you know. So true. I don't know why Miami is a place that exists. We can add that to the object point map. I didn't see Miami on the map, but Miami exists, okay? Because the we keep talking about Miami, that's got to be a place. And then we have Pearl, who's like that type of character. Everybody's so dumb. Apparently, their asset is rotated sometimes, which is interesting. They got the lampshade. No, really don't know what to say about the lampshade. They're very they don't really have a lot of words to say, and they're very quiet. Which, considering this show, that's kind of rare to see a character that chooses not really to speak. That's kind of rare, considering this is the show where everybody's a yapper. I think I sought to Poseidon, which is like the police officer of the group. You always got to have a police officer character that polices everything. Then the mouse character ends up debating. This scene reminded me of some other scene, but I don't remember which. I know that there was a scene in like Insane Object Brawl that kind of reminded me of it, but there's no way this is inspired from that. So like, it's interesting. But Mouse is kind of like that mean character, like, and then there's the other fellas like Pluggy and some golden plug and some. I don't know what this is. A symbol. Oh, symbol. I guess they are a symbol. I mean, because they kind of look like that what is that one called? Like, there's like the Japanese symbol for beginner or whatever. Japanese symbol for beginner, right? Is that a thing? I mean, it kind of looks like that, but not really. Like in a very vague way. But anyways, we end up having the streetlight who also exists. Then we have apparently a couple which is not Earth. For a moment I thought that was an Earth redesign, but no, they're like a globe, which is a different thing. They're like those desk globes, right, that you can spin around. Not gonna be confused with Earth at all. Nope, different characters. And then there's the palm tree that first goes to the hospital or whatever, so and has a panic attack. So I guess that's fair. Then there's also a crayon. I don't really know what the crayon does, but does the crayon even speak? I don't know. I don't think the crayon speaks. Then we have some additional fellas. 10 Ball's back, because of course 10 Ball's back. You can't have a show without 10 Ball. 10 Ball's watching Untitled Insanity. Don't think 10 Ball was watching a Untitled Insanity scene was actually in any of the episodes. which is interesting. Maybe it's a secret teaser to Untitled Insanity 3, or it's just a unique scene made for this episode. That's also possible. And then we have the some other characters, which are, or yeah, there's the knifey again, and then there's Vicky. This character looks like Poppy and a carrot combined at the same time, and I'm not gonna lie, this design, it does kind of look sick. I do kind of vibe with this design a lot. The way that like they're kind of nonchalant emo in a way, and then they have the freaking leaves from them sort of shaped like emo hair. Like that's kind of cool, isn't it? So I don't mind that at all. Then we have the watermelon fella that just comes out from the back of every of the scene. That just goes like, "You suck, fuck you, you are bad," or whatever. So that's what they're doing, which is, I mean, it's a thing you can do. It's a running gag for sure, and running gags aren't too bad. Then we have some bucket fella, which wanted to talk to Knifey. And then Knifey says, "I no offense, but I don't know you, and I don't really like you." Wait a minute, hold on. Do you know them or not? Because if you knew them, you would be capable of saying I don't like them. But it's like, I don't know you, but I don't like you. But then you won't let them say anything. What if they just wanted to say, "Hey, I saw that like there was a knife store across the street. You should copyright strike them," or whatever. What? But like, no, I don't know. Knifey just disregards it. Goes to the evil, scary building that has the flipping recovery center on it. We only had the boxing glove that's apparently was supposed to be the bully, but now is a little bit cheaped out. So yeah, they end up leaving. And then we have Orange, who really wants to be a hitman. So of course they get hired to go hitman the red block. And in fact, they do successfully get murdered by Orange. Orange is a pretty damn good hitman. Who gets revived? Earth gets revived. No idea how, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I like the freaking watermelon fella. They don't even have an insult for Earth. They're like, "You fuck off." Like, okay, that's cool. I think that means that Earth's on the good people list. I wonder how Earth feels about the spinning globe. That just has to be an interaction. They look exactly the same, bro. Earth yet again has had a mild redesign. We've taken it from the BFB Earth to the different Earth now, which is different. To be specific, it's specifically brighter. This Earth is quite a bit brighter than the usual Earth. So they're back, which is cool. They got Diamond D, which is for some reason I don't know why they did. They reminded me quite a bit of Pillow. I don't know why they seem like the Pillow character archetype now, which is kind of weird. Like, because Pillow in early BFB wasn't quite as immediately off the cuff insane as you are now, so it is quite a little bit differently. We have a couple of players, some other characters. Who do we have? We have just like a marshmallow. I don't even know who that is. It's just like a marshmallow. Yet again, so many of these characters, they have like a mild pinkish hue to them. I don't really know why we have a mild pinkish hue, but we really do. And then we have softball, which is that's cool. Is that what that like? It's like a golden baseball, so it's like a tennis baseball combination. Then you have a softball, which, yeah. Then apparently, Cone and Blue Gelatin decided they're gonna go to Yo-Yo Land because they were kicked out of Yo-Yo Land at some point. But these fellas cannot stick to one place. They get kicked out of Object Point Island. They get kicked out of Yo-Yo Land. They get kicked out of everything. These fellas are a danger to society as a whole, bro. Like, nah, bro. What are they doing? But eventually, they do manage to get into Yo-Yo Land. So good job. Then eventually, we have some fucking like golden bubble, which is the hospital keeper. We have Spoonie, which for some reason has lost the ability to speak. Uh, oh yeah, I love the gag of the button being all like upsetting the boxing glove and then walking back all like disfigured. That was a good joke. I enjoy that joke. Like I don't necessarily mind the joke of like, oh yo, haha, yes, that person said a thing and then they died because they got beat up for it. But I like the addition that they don't just necessarily die, but just like disfigured. Right, because usually it's like when somebody says something, then four kills them. Is like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're just dead then. But in this case, no. Then we have a cupcake, which doesn't get to say anything. So who? Okay, let's look at this map for a moment. Object Point Island. Okay, so I think they are in the suburbs because that's like the gray land. I think that's where they are. What we call Yo-Yo Land, which is of course where they are. That's the place that exists. Then there is Sabota Land and Redictated, which are two places which I do not know about. I do not know about those two places, I must admit. Maybe were they mentioned in Object Point? I can't remember them really traveling all that much. Um, no, they really didn't travel all that much. So I'm not really sure what Sabota Land or Reddited is. I mean, presumably Object Point entirely took place in Object Point Island, right? Because that's Object Point Island. So I don't think we necessarily got to see too much else. They get to do a little bit of galactic. Grab a magnet. Who else is there? There's a computer chip. There's a bracelety, but yellow, and then there's also a Dorito chip. There's an interesting like design shared idea between people who make Dorito chips that like yes they are going to be dipped and that is going to act like hair. Spoonie also has a friend called Fork, which is pretty cool. Orangey is going absolutely insane though. They're murdering everything. They're doing we don't know what they're doing. They're murdering everybody, right? Because they're the hitman, and they don't. And now they've gone rampaging with power. Oh my god, I can just kill people. That I got free will. So then they decided to do that everything with like we need a savior. But in the meantime, Blue Gelatin, who went to the History Science Museum from the Yo-Yo Land, you know that one, ended up finding a magnet and then decided to just grab it because it just spoke to them. You know, I mean, it did have a completely different asset. Did have a completely different looking asset than usual, so I would also be suspicious. But then they decide to just activate it because that's a good idea. You know, when you see something in an extremely important historical science museum, obviously what you're going to do is steal it, go to the top of a mountain and use it. That's exactly what I would do in that situation. Point for point, beat for beat, bar for bar, same exact thing. I'm glad that we're on the same page. But well, they turn it on and it launches a gigantic laser beam in the shape of an iPhone because they were like, oh, if only Meepo was here to stop all of these people from murdering. And then it just so happens that, oh my god, the phone ends up falling down on the orange, and that means that they're safe. OMG. But then the phone is broken. It is we firmly generated a broken phone, and people are wondering what the hell is this. And then eventually popping out from the broken phone, we have the one, the only. I don't know. I don't know. They look like a star. They're like a star fella. Um, I like how the immediate frame of them saying hello is like the one frame that's animated. That's like not synced properly. That's an oof. But they're an interesting fella. They kind of remind me of like this scene did remind me of BFB a little bit because it's kind of like when in original BFB, like when Four appears, Four just kind of stands there and people get to like analyze Four a little bit. Like what who is this? Right? So then it's kind of reminded me of that because they were like analyzing the phone and then eventually they pop out. But we don't know who this is. I guess we'll have to find out in 4.1b because this isn't episode 1. This is 1a. But as usual, we have this fella. Presumably they're the weird, goofy Algebraian style host, but they're not an Algebraian. They're just a thing. They're just a guy who happens to be a star. I do like the design over them. No, the thing is they don't really look like a star because they're so like round. It looks like a freaking. It looks like a cornflake. Is that what a cornflake looks like? Am I thinking about this correctly? Hold on. Give me a moment. Cornflakes. No, it doesn't look like a cornflake. It looks like another. It looks like one of the cereals. I don't remember what cereal it's called, but there's the cereal that's like star shaped. So that's kind of cool, and its design is kind of interesting. As well, but we will really have to find out what they are later. If they're like kind of weird, insane hosts, or if they're kind of more chilled out hosts. We are talking about Object Point, so usually these hosts don't make a lot of sense. However, this is a new era. We've like almost made a show that makes sense here, unlike the other Object Points. We're almost we've almost got like a sense of logical. It's like sort of it's kept the randomness from object point, but it's kept the randomness at a more manageable pace and at a more manageable volume, which is very nice. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to find out. Considering that this show is supposedly, apparently, we're doing like the specific BFB, like the copy, like we're copying the BFDI way that things went. Theoretically, we should have like what 8 episodes until eventually you split off into 2 shows. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly what's going on here because I don't know. I do not have the knowledge on what exactly is going to happen. That's all I think I can realistically say about FourPoint, but yeah, we are all caught up for the modern 2025 Object Point franchise. Maybe one time in the future, we'll take a look at the others, the rest of it, but for now, we will not be doing that. But anyways, that's all. Let's go to the next thing. All right, the next thing that we're going to be watching is The Beacon, which is another little Nolla short that released. It is 3 minutes long. I have no idea what it is. We did get a couple of informations about a couple of weeks back that we were doing something else for the short, like we were doing another short, which is interesting. Like it's really interesting. Like I never thought I was gonna talk about like Nolla like again after I originally talked about it because we were like it was very specific. Yo, we probably won't be doing any more Nolla stuff, but nah, I guess we have been inspired to make more Nolla stuff. People have been interested. So I guess it's time to talk about The Beacon. I have no idea what it looks like, but the thumbnail's pretty. You know, it's very very pretty. It's a night and the blue is a beacon. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it because I don't know what to say right now. Okay, I just watched The Beacon, and yeah, these are the type of things where it's like I don't know why it feels a little weird to talk about something like this, which is one of the original reasons why I was scared of covering Nola in the first place, because I like it's weird, I was like to analyze something that's a real experience, right? Um, because it's just a weird thing to do, right? So I'm gonna keep it a little bit muted as well in this case. But I mean, as far as cinematography goes, this is great. This is great stuff. The way that the message is communicated is very very nice. It's very very poetic, because it gives you like the proper, like it gives you the detail. It tells you what's going on. It's like there's this light, but then like it fades into reality. Because like for example, with something like Nola, right? Nola was a real story, as said. However, it's like, of course, as with this and with Nola, you have to still imagine what that would be like in real life, right? Because of course it's translated to the medium. However, in this you can properly see like the faithfulness, right? Like genuinely that transition into the IRL had me flabbergasted. That was genuinely cinema. That was absolute cinema. I'm not gonna lie. That was fire. I was like, holy shit, because I was never expecting to see. That was not in my wildest expectation. I don't know what I was expecting when I was watching. To be honest, I don't know what I thought was gonna happen. I had no idea. I was just letting it play, but like actually seeing that was crazy. Okay, no, actually, I do remember what I was thinking. I thought that what was gonna happen was they were gonna turn off the beacon, not them as in the person. I thought that like that one day you would appear and the beacon would be turned off because like, oh, we replaced it by like a different surveillance camera or whatever, and then it does like a story about like self-reflection and whatever, finding meaning in things that aren't there, right? But then it's like instead seeing the beacon IRL as like this is an actual thing. Like yeah, that was cool for sure. Then we have a nice little theme playing for the outro, but that is, I mean, I mean, it's just good stuff. Absolutely. I don't think I can do it justice in the way that I talk about it here. Go watch it. If you've already watched it, go rewatch it. I think it's like 3 minutes long. It's the length of a song. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can watch it another time. Watch good media twice. Okay, that's what you say. You don't gotta watch a good movie one time. You can watch it 2 times. That's all good. But yeah, that is the beacon. It's a lovely little message. Find joy in things that make you find joy as well. Even if you want to find meaning in a surveillance light, you can find meaning in a surveillance light. It's truly poetic. And I am happy to have watched it. I feel more enlightened now than I was 5 minutes ago when I didn't watch it. I feel like I have gained a perspective that I should follow in the footsteps of it. I should think about it next time I see a blue surveillance. By the way, I have never seen that in my life. I'm sorry to talk about. Hold on, just the last thing. I've actually never seen a surveillance light like that. Just ever. This is a thing by the sea, I think, because I don't know. I'm in Switzerland, which is a landlocked country, so we don't do that. It's like never seen a surveillance light of that stuff. Maybe that's another reason, but yeah, it's a cool beacon. Okay, it's a cool beacon. Looks cool, but all right, that's all. That's all I can say. Let's keep it moving. Otherwise, this will be too awkward. No, never mind. I actually forgot to say there is also the Google Drive with with some cool art as well, and the papers that were drawn themselves, which I think is cool stuff. All right, now I can stop talking. Oh my god. All right, next. All right, the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Trinket Trouble, because yesterday, episode 5 of Darndy's World Trinket Trouble Holiday Hustle released. As a reminder, in the last episode, we had a little bit of a filler episode where Dandy Plush ended up getting exposed the proper Ace Attorney style for saying a brain rot phrase, and then Charles, the internet debater, in fact called them out. The finale ended up being delayed because of Dandy's World grinding. Now, apparently, this is the finale, so we're gonna need to find out in episode 5. That's right. I just did that. Okay, let's the interesting title. Let's watch it. Alrighties, I just watched the episode 5 and the finale of Dandy's World Trinket Trouble Holiday Hustle. So, Cole is gone, and Dandy Plush will give the prize of a lucky coin, this pretty swag coin, to the winner of the series. So, did I forget that it was finale? No, I think I mentioned that it was the finale. This might be one of the least finale feeling finales ever. I think it's just because like a duo wins, like multiple people win. Yeah, we have a montage that was shown on the YouTube a little bit earlier as a preview. All my ladies. And you get to see from the compilation. This is quite fun. I like the fun, the retro. I think it's called retro. Is it called retro wave? I think it is, right? Retro wave, like aesthetic. And then like the Find Luigi mini game, like that. Like there's some cool stuff. In there as well in that compilation. But eventually they end up going in and they meet Cole hanging up from in front of a lava pit, and then because the Halloween trinkets have been here all along. I think they're they're trinkets from somewhere, because the Easter and Christmas trinkets are the ones competing, and that means that the Halloween trinkets end up being the ones here protecting the Cole here, confiscating, kidnapping Cole. If I remember, who are they? They are Memory Slocket, whatever. Yarn. Then you're not called Yarn Ball. You're something. Ah, god damn. The Soul Sword, I think that's what one of them's called, and then the other one is the Moonpack Heirloom. Right, what is... Oh, goddamn. You know why I remember these is because I watched Halo Trinkets, which uses these fellas to try to, use different people than the show that it's inspired of, which is this one. So that's why it's kind of different. Okay, hold on. What are you called? You're called. What the hell is it called, bro? Hold on. Soul Sword, Memory Locket, Moonpack Heirloom, Bone, Needle, and Thread. Okay, yeah, that's what it's called. So yeah, they end up being the least threatening possible set of villains ever. Because after they get asked, it's like they wanted to join this show, which, to be fair to them, I mean, if they had joined the series and the series worked within the way that it currently works, it would have been about the same length as Trinket Trouble season one. However, of course, this is supposed. I think this is supposed to be spin-off season mainly. However, it doesn't end up like that much shorter. But yeah. I like how the characters with the similar text boxes point out that the text box, and that's the respect, all right? If you're like nice text box, then immediately they are chill, all right? We chill, we homies, we vibing, we no problem at all. I like that's cool, that's fun. Then eventually we end up calling out Dandy Plush, which is like, yo, we can try to ask them if you want to compete. Dandy Plush says no, which to be fair, right? Um, you don't make somebody join in the finale. I was thinking that maybe this is the way they were doing. We're like, oh, it's a bait. It's supposed to be the finale, but now they're gonna rejoin, so it's not gonna be the finale, right? But like, no, nah. The Dandy Plush cannot be hashtag reasoned with. So, yeah, these fellas have been postponed to season 3, if that exists. I don't know if that will exist. By the current measures of like what we have seen on the screen at any given time, there might be a second season. Maybe there might be a second mainline season of Trinket Trouble that exists. However, I don't really know. We have our intro here, which is pretty, it's a cool little intro. Then eventually we end up saving Cole pretty damn easily because it was, remember, not one of the most dangerous things. They hide a bunch of gift boxes and try chasing them. This is the foolproof strategy. Moonpack Heirloom is so silly. That's the best way I can describe the Moonpack Heirloom. They're just like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot you. So they're kind of fun. Toy box end up getting cornered by Soul Sword, and then eventually manages to survive by spawning in a cat, which is pretty cool. Then Cole eventually gets found by the memory locket until they get absolutely destroyed by, I don't even, what destroyed? Oh yeah, by Cole. Yeah, that's fair. Cole does not really choose. But eventually we end up having some other scenes. We have a joke, I think, a Forsaken joke, right? Because this is one of the animations. I thought this was Cookie Run Kingdom for a moment, but that's, I think, just because that's what Festive Lights looks like. But yeah, that's a pretty cool. It's some swag animations here. As usual, this series is like, for me watching Catchup, it's definitely a breath of fresh air because it's topical in a way that a lot of object shows aren't, right? You know, like, it's topical to the communities which it serves, and it's like funny to the, and it's like it's memey to the communities that it serves, which means that it just ends up being it's a different vibe, right? Because a lot of the time with object shows, we're talking about, oh, can an object show survive the test of time? Is this object show good enough to be around for 10 years and still have a good episode to watch, right? So that's why we're talking about, oh, topical jokes in a big object show, you can't do them, right? But it's like a series like this, it's already entirely topical, right? You know, it's already entirely, this is a series for the right now, when this game is relevant, when these are the trinkets that exist, right? Because more might get added at some point, right? When, like, this is the lineup, this is the thing, we're actually relying on this game that's extremely active right now, right? You know, so it's topical to itself, which is interesting. And it just gives itself an entirely different vibe, as well as the humor being a little bit different. I think Soul Sword and Scrapbook also complemented each other on their text boxes, by the way, which I think is cool. Even though that's a little bit more of a stretch. I mean, they're both tints blue. But eventually, we had the poll for the winner, and it turned out that the winner was apparently the main tunes. The main tunes, and no, the main tunes, no, the main trinkets. Sorry, the main rarity trinkets of toy kit. And wait, are you called toy? What your toy kit? No, 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 no. Toy kit's different. Uh, wait, are you different? Hold on. Wait. Give me the moment to remember. Give me the moment to do the to do that. Is it the toy kit? I think it's the toy kit because there's nothing else that it could be. Yeah. It is the toy kit. Okay, because I don't remember calling it toy kit or toy box. That's because I there's another show that has a character called Toy Box. But I was just making sure. They win barely, bro. 34% to 33% to 32% is crazy. You know why I think this is? It's because the thing that this cast has is an extremely small amount of tension, right? Like in general, Toy Kit and the Whispering Flower or the freaking Peppermint Icing or the Scrapbook, like the fact that they're on different teams doesn't really matter because they're just buds anyways. Like they're just hang out. Like they just hang out, they chilling. There's no bad blood between them at all, and they get along, right? It's not like a usual object show when between team from team there's a direct like clash in the way that they're like encounter, like like in the way that they encounter each other. But in this series, there just isn't because like the cast is superbly nice to each other, and just kind of the way that these trinkets personalities ended up being made. There's pretty much zero conflict. The only conflict arrived like from like the characters in episode 1, which got voted out immediately. Not necessarily for having caused conflict, but I'm thinking the Festive Lights was kind of a character, right? And the Radar. Those ended up being the characters that were like a little bit more confrontation, but they ended up getting themselves kicked out super early. So it's ended that our final few is just characters that are like, yeah, you chill, bro. So yeah, Dandypuss somehow doesn't win, which is kind of crazy. But then eventually they do indeed get the prize, and the Whispering Flower ends up eating it, and the episode just ends because we didn't get to receive the prize. V pops in from the elevator saying that it's the last episode, which is it though? Is it though? Come on, V. I know. I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm finding a little bit suspicious, bro. Even I was like, yo, ain't no way this the last episode. I'm out here with my other tune with a pumpkin head. What do you call it? I think I looked it up. You're called like Gordy or something. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of with him. I feel like there might be a 6th episode, but they go chase down Danny's. Well, sue him again, sue him a second time. But yeah, this show's interesting because like it's such a weird way of being, because the point of this show, even within the show, is that it's rough, and V doesn't even like it. Like that's kind of the interesting thing, right? Like it's supposed to be rough. They mention it being rough, right? Which kind of gives it this different like vibe to it, and it's interesting. But a lot of tunes just like it anyways. I wonder why V isn't fond of it, because as far as characters being fond of it, like nearly everybody who has seen the show, like we have seen opinionate on the show from like the elevator, seems to like every tune. Seem to be pretty on board with it, but V specifically just isn't. V's a little bit more. I don't know my Dandy's World lore, but V from here looks like a little bit more like cold blooded. I'm remembering that episode 3, I think, the outro of them in episode 2 and 1. Right? Like then they're kind of dodging the discussions with any of the holiday tunes, which I think Gordy isn't Gordy one of them, but like then we end up having that. interesting thing. So they end up being a little bit cold-blooded. Maybe they're also it's because they are a television. Maybe because if you are a television, you have higher standards of TV programming. So to be like, oh yeah, I'll try making the show, but now it's whatever people broadcast. I don't really know how the hell V works. Like you're a TV, right? But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm just making up down these little theories at this point, but yeah, I was just mainly surprised that we didn't get to see like more tune interaction because it feels like in the past few episodes, like we gained a little bit of intel here and there. We gained some little intel points, like V gave the tapes to Dandy to give to the holiday tunes, Bobette or whatever, and then they watched it at home with those tapes. So they currently have those right. You see, that's the part I'm confused about. They have the tapes for the seasons for Trinket Trouble. Like they have those apparently, right? So then they left, and they have those in the off season, which it currently is, as far as I'm aware. I mean, it's not the off season, but like it's not. We're not in the season either. It's not the Christmas season yet. But in the timeline here of like actually of the show, I think we were in season. Um, so that's going on, right? So those are doing that, and then for some reason V doesn't want to directly go up to them, just wants to be very distant. And somebody calls him out. I think it was Astro called them out. I gave a quick check before starting the segment because I was trying to remember. Ashley was like, yo, we gotta say goodbye to them. I'm surprised we didn't get to see that scene. But then this kind of surprises me more because it's like, hold on, I thought you didn't have it. When is this? When does this scene happen? Right? Because of course, there is a possibility that when the screen turns off, we don't necessarily need to go section by section, moment by moment. Right? Like it's directly. And maybe we could be looking at a timeline where, like, after this episode, we're talking about this time, but then after this episode, we're seeing what happens when somebody watched it before the whole ordeal went down, right? So that's kind of the confusing. It doesn't necessarily, by the way that this transition works, it doesn't have to be chronological, right? Like, you can be taking a look at any singular time that this episode ended at any time anybody watched it, right? Like, that's kind of the thing. So I'm just very interested if this is taking place after or before, because again, as far as we know from the information given, theoretically the tapes of season 1 and 2 or whatever end up being given to Bobette and the other fella, which I don't know who that is. And then that means that V wouldn't have them anymore. However, somehow we still do have them because we showed them to Gordy if we're going chronological, unless this is a non-chronological storytelling. Another thing that I'm saying interesting is that I don't know if if this is Trinket Trouble 2, because what the tape is directly called TT. There is a tape called TT1 and there's a tape called TT2. That is what we know. Is this TT2? Because this is not Trinket Trouble 2. This is Trinket Trouble Holiday Hustle, which doesn't. It's the second season, but it's not necessarily the sequel season. You can tell it's sort of more. It's holiday themed, which already gives off a massive vibe of like side thing. Usually the holiday specials, right, end up being a little bit of a side season, right, and we end up having less character. We have double eliminations, right, the way to have less episodes, right, so it doesn't feel like a grandiose second season that's larger than ever, right. It doesn't feel like that, so that's why I don't know if like that TT2 is like this is TT2. Or if like the Trinket Trouble 2 is just simply, it means that it's the second season. Because at the end of the day, however you title a tape, however you write the name in front of the tape, it could be whatever. Like Trinket Trouble 2, yeah, it could just be the second season, which is this one, right? Or it can mean Trinket Trouble 1 and Trinket Trouble 2, and then this is Trinket Trouble Holiday Hustle, so you have TTHH or whatever, right? Like, and all that stuff. But I don't really know. My presumption is that this is the Trinket Trouble 2 tape, and in which case that means that we have absolutely no knowledge of there being a third season ever. I've seen the Trinket Trouble 1 tape and I've seen the Trinket Trouble 2 tape. I don't think I've ever seen the Trinket Trouble 3 tape in the wild, and all the contestants, no contestants, and all the people currently have only talked about either season 1 or 2, right? Which implies that currently season 3 might just not exist. In which case, we might have to say goodbye to Trinket Trouble just as a concept. This might be the end of the line, which would be unfortunate. It would certainly be unfortunate, because there's still trinkets that haven't had their time to shine, and there's still like there's stuff to do, right? I feel like a Trinket Trouble big old season 2 could be in order, it could be cool. However, if it's the end of the line, it's the end of the line. But it does feel like there's lore here that could be that's unresolved. It does feel like we're setting up a little bit of lore that would be cool to see. But anyways, that's all I think I can realistically tell you about the holiday hustle finale. That's right. I just did that. Now we're gonna move over to the next segment with all my ladies, which is 0 of them. I do not have a girlfriend. zero ladies. That just like scrapbook for real. All right, let's go. Well, the next segment turns out to actually be the outro because, there's nothing else that can really fit in. I tried, to be honest, to fit in something else. However, it really wasn't. It wasn't gonna happen. So that has been postponed to another day. But either way, this was a nice day, catching up with the keep ups that we had to do, and also doing some stuff. We technically covered, I guess, a request as well, because of the object point stuff, and then of keeping up with all the creative, the new episodes, and also one of the shows with Binomial Epilogue. So to me, I call this day a success, absolutely. So that is all I think that I realistically got to say about today. Do the whole engagement shenanigans. What do they say? Subscribing, liking, commenting, any engagement that you feel like doing. And for this episode of the Catchup, and for these shows that we watched today, we're all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye.